And welcome back to the Business of Business podcast, Two Daughters and Their Dad. I'm your host, Stacey J. Dempsey, and thankfully, like always, I have the one and only dad, the legend, and one of the other daughters, the thousands of daughters that he has. Good morning to the both of you.
Good morning.
Well, you're in real exaggeration mode this morning. Legend and 1,000 daughters. Believe, right. I don't think my wife got that memo. So,
Well, we'll have to send her the end of this. We'll have to send her a copy of this podcast. So,
yeah, right.
but good morning to all of our listeners wherever you are tuning in today. And no exaggeration, Dad, the legend, Jennifer, one of several daughters. But good morning to the both of you. And we want to welcome you guys to our podcast. And we want to start out by sharing today that we would like to talk about defining success. Clearly, success can look like, it can feel like, and it can mean just an array of different things to different people, especially depending on where you are in your business, whether right now your business is a thought and what you think success will look like and feel like, or if you have been, running a business for several years, and maybe that success now looks and feels a little bit differently. So, Jennifer, I want to start off with you because you were sharing beforehand a book that you were reading and just some new perspective now that you are officially beyond the 8 years of being in business. And so why don't you share with our listeners a little bit about what you were sharing with Dad and I this morning?
Yeah, so obviously thinking about this podcast this morning and thinking about success and what that means to me individually, and really thinking about our family. And we've had this conversation more probably within our sibling group to say, it's interesting that you kind of set these goals for yourself, particularly around money, right? You want to, sell X amount, you want to make X amount, you want to bring home X amount. Because I think as a family, we understand that we all kind of thrive towards that financial freedom that Dad instilled in us. But what I find interesting is that over the years, as everyone has grown, we've kind of have set these benchmarks for ourselves. And from my experience, it's like, if I had X amount of money in the bank, then I'm going to feel different. I'm going to feel secure. I'm going to feel a certain way. And then you reach that milestone and you're like, well, I'm still nervous. This isn't enough. I have to keep going here. And so thinking about, opening a business, being an entrepreneur, we all kind of view success differently. I know for myself, when I first opened my business, it's like, it was just about volume, right? I don't care. I will braid your cat's tail. Like, I'm just trying to do hair. Doesn't matter what kind of hair, we're just doing hair. And then you start to evolve, right? And as a person, you start to change and view success different. And it's like, wait a minute, I need to work a little bit smarter here. Or even I can reflect on, when I first started cutting hair, I was charging $25 and now I'm charging $105 for a haircut. So, where at one point you had that nervousness about, charging more money and whatever that looks like. So to me, in that realm, that was a piece of success for me. Like, wow, I never in a million years would have thought after this, after 8 years that I would be able to charge X amount of money for a haircut. So in a way, that's a level of success. But I laugh because I love listening to Dad when we're out in the world and he's like, my daughter owns this successful hair salon. And I'm like, what daughter? What do you like? And what I started to realize is that Dad's perception or what he views as success and what I view as success is different. And it can be different for the individual. So I think it's just an interesting topic that, I think that we've all known this, especially when you're talking so much on the podcast about goal setting. It's like sometimes we get fixated on a destination. If I can just do this, then I'll find happiness. If I can just make it to this point, then I'm quote unquote successful. And so I think if we, when we get wrapped up into that, that's where disappointment can come in. And so we always talk about what's your why. I think it's equally important to understand, like, what is your definition of success, and understanding that over the years that can change for the individual as you grow, as your business grows.
Yeah, absolutely. And earlier, Jen, you were talking about, the impact, and Dad was also talking about, what's the impact that your business can have. And as you guys were talking, it reminded me of an interview that I just watched that involved one of the sharks from Shark Tank. And for those that are familiar with that show, it's typically business owners coming to these sharks, and at some point they're asking for some money, right? And so this particular shark shared that, one of his most recent interactions was someone that came to him and was talking about, being included in their business. And what this business owner said to the shark was that, I just want to be very clear that my business is successful. It is successful right now. What I'm looking for is your mentorship, your help, your guidance on making a greater impact, because I believe in my business that much. And if you also want to contribute money and talk, that we can do that. But I just wanted you to be very clear that I see my business as already successful. I check off all the boxes that I set for my business. And I just thought that was so, obviously it kind of made me take a step back also and think, it's not all about money. Now, as Dad would say, money makes things easier. It's one less thing to worry about. However, I think that we all either know people or know of people or have heard stories where those that may have a lot of money are still not enjoying that success, but also they don't feel fulfilled. They don't feel like their business is impactful in a way that in some ways brings them satisfaction and joy. And so they're always chasing something else and never actually enjoying what their business is doing. So, Dad, why don't you talk maybe a little bit about, how success has looked different for you over the years, because I know that you are either coming up on or are just now hitting about 40 years of being in the insurance business. Let me think, how old am I? So maybe a little more than 40 years. But why don't you kind of share with our listeners a little bit about what that has looked like and over the years?
Sure. Before I do that, I want to tell a quick story, because when you were talking about that, defining success and fulfillment, I remember reading a story of this gentleman who, started a business and, became very successful, and, he just kept, building it, getting bigger, never felt satisfied. And so he thought, well, let me do this. I love sports. Let me go buy a sports team. So he had enough money, he went and bought a baseball team. Now he owned a baseball team. Well, wasn't happy. Still wasn't happy. So he said, well, you know what? I travel a lot, and let me get my own jet. So he gets his own jet, still not happy. So he's doing all these things but he's still not feeling fulfilled. And then one day, an organization reached out to him and said, listen, we're trying to get these wheelchairs over to this country for these, to help children, that need wheelchairs, that, they're poor. They don't have any of that stuff. So he donated the airplane and actually went over on the flight to take these wheelchairs. And when he got off and started to, them giving them out, and the little kids were hugging him and hugging his leg, he finally found his true joy and fulfillment. And now, he, gets wheelchairs all over the world to handicapped children. So the point being is, everybody has to find that, what truly is meaningful and impactful for them, as you were saying. So for me, again, going back into the early days of starting the business, again, success was just surviving a month, making sure we had enough revenue to, pay our bills and hopefully take a little bit home to, to do what I needed to do in our personal life, and that's was like that for a long time. Just just trying to, get through to that next month and generate enough revenue to do that. But in the process of, surviving to the next month, you start to build and things start to happen and momentum starts to break your way and, referrals start to come in and business starts to grow. And so, again, over time, there's no doubt that, your perspective on success does change. And so as we, over time, I began to focus on, building a business, hiring people, bringing in talent, opening up new additional profit centers for the business and, these different things. And so what I was beginning to see as time went on was the impact that I was having in two areas. One was our clients, because you do, financial services, investments, insurance, those kind of things. And so I was seeing the impact of what we were doing, in people's lives as, they had situations come up where maybe they had significant losses to their property or, had clients that passed away and we had property insurance, had life insurance, and how these things really came in, when people were at their lowest point, to provide that financial, lift to get them back on their feet. On the investment side, beginning to see people, really put money away for the future. And so, you're really starting to see the impact that your business was having in people's lives. And so, that impact turned to influence. That influence, people were looking to you as an advisor. They're looking to you as, an expert. And so, the responsibility came with that of becoming better and developing myself to be better at what I do so that I could better serve people. And then the other area of impact that I began to see was just in building a business. You started being able to hire people and create opportunities for jobs. And again, meaningful jobs, not a transition job, not a minimum wage job, but people who could actually, have a career and spend, their lifetime working, in your business and doing things that to help them achieve their dreams of, buying a home and, family and sending kids to college and, and then, starting to take nicer vacations and, all these things that now you realize what you're building is impacting, your employees' lives in a very significant way. They started to feel, where they were having impact in people's lives. So, so that whole, shift or mindset of now my success is more around, impact, seeing other people, really realize the benefits of, us building a business, and on top of it, we generate revenue, and we do well financially. So, I mean, it's just truly a, amazing situation that we've been able to, build and, and be able to, really see so many areas of success, not just, more money. So that's a big thing. And I think for our entrepreneurs out there that are trying to figure out, and I like what you said, even for those that are even just thinking about the business, what is your why? Why are you trying to build or start a business? Is it to actually reach financial security? Is it, is that your goal? Nothing wrong with that. That's not a bad goal, so not poo-pooing that, but then also understanding is your business that you're contemplating or the business that you've started, is it the type of business that can truly, generate financial security? And what does financial security even look like for you? So, I think, you just have to be careful with it just being about financial security, because then it does become about chasing more and more. And then that can be where, again, you hit certain goals, you hit certain revenue goals, income goals, only to find yourself still not satisfied, because now you're thinking something bigger, something better, now, well, maybe I can afford a second home, or, I'd like to have a second home, or I'd like to have, a luxury car rather than just, the car I have, just things like that. And you start to just chase more and more, that revenue dollar, and so that's where you can never really, I think, find true satisfaction if that's all that there is.
Well said. I mean, I know that for sure, Dad and I mean, we know clients, over decades now that we've worked with that, they feel successful because they now have kids in the business, and those kids are able to take care of their families. And, the mom and dad of the family are able to leave the farm for 3 months and go on vacation, where when they were starting out and working the farm, they couldn't do that. Or, I know Misty, who's been on our podcast, her business is successful in multiple locations, and by that accord, but also she's able to walk away from her business and take vacations with her family, and that is successful to her, because before she started her business, she was not able to do that because of money and because of just time, not having enough time, where now she has that, freedom to schedule these things. And so, it's very, like using the word impactful, her business is impactful in multiple ways, but also, is she living in a $5 million house? No, but that's not what success is to her. It's being able to take care of her family and being able to walk away from her business, knowing her business is still going to run in the well-oiled machine that it is. And so in the world in which we live in, I think it's very easy to get caught up, especially when we're watching things. And I already said it, something like the Shark Tank. And it's like, oh, well, these guys own baseball teams and have jets and all that. And that's great. But also, understanding, like we're saying here, what does success feel like and look like to you, and not being kind of sucked into, well, once I have the jet, then I'm officially successful. That's not at all how it works. And so, Jen, I know you wanted to talk a little more about, the destination portion of this. So why don't you continue on that thought process a little bit about, the destination of success?
Yeah, I was thinking about, as you guys were talking, I'm the person that really believes that everyone has a purpose, right? Everybody's kind of meant to do something, and some people know that what that purpose is early on in life, and some people don't, and spend so much time trying to figure that out. But so, when I'm thinking about really success, I think that that's kind of what I keep going back to, is like purpose. So if you can sit and think to yourself, like, what am I meant to do? What's my purpose? That will probably drive you a little bit closer to where you're supposed to be at. And, you know, not everybody has the ability to turn something that they're passionate into a business. Thankfully I was able to do that for myself. But what I wish that a lot of people knew about me and my salon, and just hairdressers in general, is Dad was saying it earlier, and I had to stop him because I think the perception is like, oh, you're a hairdresser, that's fun, that's upbeat, that's like high energy. You get to work with like beautiful hair all day and make people smile. And yes, that is it. But what you guys don't see is that this like really amazing journey you get to go on with other people. and really be able to be a part of their journey of figuring out, their life, what they're going through, what they're struggling with. And I think one big impact that has been on my mind, but really has come to the front of my mind lately is like, wow, people are going through major health issues. And for whatever reason, they are so open and vulnerable with me. Right. And I have a client, she's like, only you and my immediate family know that I have cancer. That's the only people I haven't told nobody else knows. And so you have to think about, just being grateful to play a role in their journey with that. And just over the years, I think about the clients that have come and we've cut their hair, we've cut all their hair off, and it never gets easier each and every time that I get to be a part of that. But I feel more and more grateful that I'm able to just be that person that people can confide in, that can call, that can ask questions, that can use me as a source or a resource, and then obviously be able to come into our space that we created, just me and them, and have this really empowering emotional moment when we cut all their hair off. And then get to see them grow all their hair back. Right? So it's just this, it's funny because it's just like, oh, you're just a hairdresser. It's like, you have no idea what I get to do. And I don't take it lightly. And I make no money off of that. Do you see what I'm saying? It has nothing to do with money. It has everything to do with, I'm a resource, I'm a tool, I get to do this, and I don't take it for granted. The other thing I'm thinking is, we're getting ready to launch our 9th book bag fundraiser. And I'll tell you, every single time I do it, it gives me goosebumps. Because of J Faith Hair Studio, because of the mission, the vision, we've been able to help hundreds and hundreds of children over the years go back to school with what they need. And you guys are living in inflation nowadays, right? Things are hard out here. So, the salon is getting ready to make the biggest investment in this book bag that we've had in 9 years. And, even last year, it kind of occurred to me, because I've been doing this so long, we have people reaching out directly to the salon saying, hey, I know you do this book bag fundraiser, sharing their stories with me. I lost my job. My husband lost his job. Whatever the case may be, we're struggling. I haven't been in because I can't afford to get my hair done. And the salon is able to take care of those families and send their kids back to school with what they need. And I just don't ever take that for granted. It's just one of those blessings that, because I own this business and I get to, walk this out, that I get to help people in that way. So that's how that's how I make an impact throughout my business. And, what's it all for if I can't do that? So it's really amazing every time we get to do it. So,
I think that, that's for our listeners. I mean, when you're thinking about what does success mean for me and my business, you definitely have to attribute, the financial component to it. I mean, we're in business, to generate revenue and ultimately generate profits, and there's nothing to be ashamed of or anything around that, because it's out of those profits that create more opportunities to, to help more people, right? So, but just ask yourself the question: what kind of impact now can my business have, in the community? Whether it's, as a direct result of what you do, for a business, or like in Jen's case, having a platform now to be able to help, others, that are, in a tough spot, but she can use the, her business, she can use, that opportunity to really have another type of impact. So, your business could be, something, in either one of those camps. Now, again, in our case, we our business can provide impact, financial impact. I mean, I remember having one client who I worked with for a lot of years as a farmer, and he was tough. He was a tough person to deal with. But we got along pretty good. But he was always pretty tough. But I remember going there one year, and his wife had developed Alzheimer's, and so she was really getting to the point where she didn't know anybody, and I remember meeting with him, and I'll still remember, just as clear today. It was a winter, day, so I think it was only late in the afternoon, but it was already dark out. We were sitting in his kitchen, the light on in the kitchen, and he's sitting there with his, coveralls on and his hat, and just crying. He was just sitting there crying, just saying, "Jack, I don't get it." He goes, "Wait," he called me Dempsey. He didn't call me Jack. He said, "Dempsey, I just don't get it. All she did was just work, every day alongside me to raise our kids, help me on the farm, do all these things, and this is how she gets rewarded. And I just don't understand it, And I said, I don't understand it either, and then it just went quiet. But I just thought to myself, as he was sitting there and tears were rolling down his eyes, that I just felt like I was just in such a privileged place at that moment for him to be able to just to share that and just to be real, with me, because, of the relationship, the business relationship, but he felt comfortable and trusted me enough. I mean, I didn't give him any information. Couldn't give him any answers, because I certainly didn't know either. But the point is just being there, at that moment. So, those are the kind of things when I look back, and I've, got other experiences similar to that, I think, that's success to me. Not to bring anything on me, but just to be able to build something and be in people's lives that you're kind of in that place of, privilege, really, that you just don't take for granted. So again, asking yourself as an entrepreneur, what impact can I have? What is my business? And again, it doesn't matter what kind of business it is, in my opinion, there's some way to have impact, beyond just, trying to do more, generate more revenue somehow, some way. So again, just ask yourself that question, listeners, because you'll be happy if you really define that for yourself and your business.
Yeah, well said. I'm glad that you said that, Dad, because, some people could sit back and say, well, I have a comic book business, I have an insurance business, I'm a hairstylist, but there's, if you really sit back and think about the people that maybe impact you in a positive way, and either what they do for a living, what business are they a part of? It doesn't have any definition. It's not, you don't have to be a life coach, to be able to be impactful. You don't have to, you can have any kind of business, or be in any part of nonprofit to have a positive impact on people. But that's up to you on how you choose to use that ability and that blessing, and that ability to just be able to be impactful to people and to other businesses. So well said, everyone. I am so glad that we were able to be together today. I want to thank all of our listeners. We hope that this has been impactful to you, and we hope that you will sit and take some time to think of how your business is successful right now, regardless of the stage that it's in, and maybe what your destination, because it will continue to change, what your destination of success looks like. And we would love to hear what conclusions that you've come to. So be sure to share that with us on our social media. So until we can be together again, be impactful and be successful wherever you are. And we will talk to you guys soon. Bye.